some questions that have come up from several different people. So let's talk about how to get out of the doghouse with your boss. That's right. How in the world do we get out of the doghouse with the boss? So, question number one that I have for you is, do you really want to? Do you really want to get out of the doghouse? And here's what I mean by that. If your values don't align with theirs, if you really don't like what you owe it to that company and you owe it to yourself to move on and do something that you will like, do something that lights you up, something that really sets you on fire, because you're doing the company a disservice and you're doing yourself a disservice sticking around. So number one right there is, do you really want to? Okay, now that we've established, if you don't want to, that you're, and out you go. However, if you've decided out of the doghouse and that I am the number one shining star in the organization. Okay, so we're going to go from the least or the bottom of the barrel to the number one person on the totem pole. That's what we're going to do, right? How in the world do we get out of the doghouse? So number one, with decision that we're all in, that we're going to do whatever it takes. We're going to, as long as it's honest, moral, and ethical, we will do 100% whatever it takes to get out of the doghouse to be number one, to be the absolute best employee that company has ever seen. If you're not willing to make that decision, you need to go back to and revisit the decision that you had made, right? You need to go find something else to do. But if you can commit and you can go all in and you make that decision, the CDO, right? This is what I'm doing, then nothing will stand in your way because you're in it to play the long game. Now, if your boss chooses not to go along with you, so what? Here's what happens. You become a better individual. You're bettering yourself, you're working, you're growing, and you are becoming the type of individual that you needed to become all along, right? And if they can't see the effort and they can't see the work you're putting in and they can't see the progress you're making, someone else will. And they will either hire you away or they will hire you after the intention you're going to make this happen no matter what. And I don't know about you, but I've never met a boss 100% behind them, or where I didn't have a leader or manager 100% behind me when I made the decision to be all in, to go all in. They always back you up. And if they don't, is that really somebody you want to be following anyway? No, it's not. All right. Number two, we have to approach our boss in a spirit of humility. Yes, a spirit of humility. And I know Benjamin Franklin said that for him, humility was the toughest thing that he ever had to work on in his life. I get it. You're not Benjamin Franklin. So we can approach with some humility to our boss and ask the questions of him or her. What can you help me do? All right. So here's where I'm at. I understand I'm in the doghouse. I want to get out of the doghouse. What does the path of getting out of the doghouse look like from your perspective? You're the boss. Talk to me. Can you help me work out a plan? However, before you walk in that door, before you walk into that office, you should have a plan fully laid from where I am, the bottom of the barrel, to almost being fired, to being the best employee you have. Here's the plan that I've created. Here's the plan I have laid out. Can you give me some insight? All right. Now, I'm assuming that you have put a significant amount of time into creating this plan, because if you have not, it's going to be, it's not going to be good for you, right? Put the time in. That's our role. Let's put the time in. You made the decision, put the time in, develop the plan. Let's move forward. All right. Trying not to beat a dead horse here, but I need you to understand the point. If you're trying to get out of the doghouse, you have to do the work. All right. So number three, you've got to perform a time study. You have to perform a time study. And what is a time study? That means you're going to log. We've talked about this in videos before, where you're going to log everything that you do all day, every day for a full week, 7 days, full 7 days, everything that you do. And then you're going to take that to your boss and you're going to ask for some feedback. What on here and in what order would you like me to work on things? And is there anything on here that you would like me to eliminate? Why? Because we want to work on our boss's priorities first. It's always the boss's priority first. If we're focused on us and our priority, no. That's what got you in the doghouse in the first place. work on their priority. What's number one to them? So we reprioritize our priorities based on what their priorities are. Our priorities become their priorities, or their priorities become our priorities, I should say. All right. So we want to make sure we do that. All right. Step number 4, reach out to mentors. Reach out to mentors. Now, how do we reach out to mentors? Well, we've been talking about building your network, and your mentors would be in your network. And where did you meet these mentors? You probably called some other locations, other places where they do the same thing that you do. You collaborate, you talk to each other, you solve problems together, you work things out together. Hey, what is your best practice for this? And what is your best practice for that? And we learn and we build each other up, and we share what we've learned with each other. And if you haven't done that, now's a good time to get started. Hey, I'm really struggling here. Can you help me out? I know you've been doing this for 20, 30 years. Or find somebody who's retired from what you've done and seek their advice. Or read a book, attend a conference, hire a coach, do something, but reach out to mentors, coaches, and your network to make sure that you are getting some knowledge from an outside pair of eyes. It's difficult to be creative in isolation, which means we've got to bring people into our world, which also means we have to be a little bit vulnerable. We have to share where we are so that others can actually help us. If we still have a facade up and we have this big wall up that everything's fine, everything's going great, there's no problem in the world, nobody can help you because you're not being honest with yourself. You're in the doghouse and you're about to get fired. That's where you're at. So if you're going to reach out to a friend, look, I'm in the doghouse and I'm about to be fired. What's your best advice for turning it around? That's honesty. Okay. We can work with that. We can help people that approach us with that. But to put up the facade that everything balance until we get back in balance. Principle number 5, be out of balance until we get back into balance. What do you mean, David? I mean, you're gonna have to work some extra hours. You're gonna have to show up early. You're gonna have to stay late, and you're gonna have to put work into the hours that you're actually working. Because what got you here is not going to get you where you want to go, right? What got you to where you are right now is continuously making bad decisions and not putting in any extra time and not putting in any extra effort. Therefore, you've got to put in the time, you've got to put in the effort, and you've got to go above and beyond to make it work, right? So you're going to have to be out of balance. If you've got a family, you're going to have to talk to your family and say, I'm going to be out of balance for a little while. I've really got to dial this in. I need your support. Kids, I need you to back me up. So I've got to spend some extra time at work for a short time because I've got to get back in charge. I've got to get back in balance with work so that then I can come back and we can be back in balance at home, right? But again, if you're not making any money, you're not bringing anything in, you're not paying your bills, well, you're sure as heck going to be out of balance then, right? So be out of balance on the positive side, making it work so that everything comes back into balance, okay? So we're out of balance for a season, and then we come back to where we need to be. All right. Now, with this, number 6, for some folks, this is very, very difficult, and yet it shouldn't be difficult at all. It's a pleasing personality. We have to have a pleasing personality. If they don't like you because you're just a jerk, that's probably why. What are the in the doghouse? If you're arrogant, pompous, think you know it all, refuse to serve and help other people. If you're constantly, your way is you stop being the problem, start being the solution. And how do we become the solution? Well, with a pleasing personality, why do you like people? You like people because you know them, you like them, you trust them. Why? Because they've been vulnerable with you and you've been vulnerable with them. You've shared, they've shared, you've developed the relationship, right? You've grown the relationship. You serve them, right? Well, you serve them. What does John Maxwell say? Leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. And how do we influence people more effectively? We serve them. We find ways to serve them. So if we want to have a pleasing personality, we're honest, we're truthful, we're open, we're happy, we're a pleasure to be around, we're nice, we're good peeps, right? We're good people. But if the perception is that you're not good people, you got to change that quick, right? How to Win Friends and Influence People. Great book, Dale Carnegie, right? How to Win Friends and Influence People. Take a genuine interest in others And I promise you, others will take a genuine interest in you. Say that all the time, all the time. If you take an interest in yourself, others will take an interest in you as well. So what do I mean by that? If you take an interest in your own development, in your own personality development, others will take an interest in that as well. And how do we do that? By taking an interest in other people. We check our own behavior, we check our own attitudes, and then we present and we become the type of person that we would want to associate with, right? The best version of ourselves. And how do we do that? Well, one way is you can practice some time travel and you can project yourself 10 years in the future as the ideal person, your absolute ideal character, 10 years in the future. And then you bring them back with you and you counsel with them. What would you do in this situation? How would you act? How would you respond? How would you communicate with somebody that's irritating the living daylights out of you? With a smile, with a heart, assuming that they are also a trauma survivor, right? Because if we assume everybody's a trauma survivor, we treat them a little differently, right? With a little more empathy, a little more concern. All right. Now, I've got 3 C's that I need you to follow that's going to wrap this all up. The 3 C's. Before we do that, for those of you who don't know, my name is David Adams with David Adams Speaks and People Steward Leadership. And the whole concept behind People Steward Leadership is to inspire leaders to embrace, absolutely embrace people stewardship so that their teams take personal responsibility for their own growth and development. And that's so important because a lot of times if we don't embrace the people, if we don't treat them like family, if we don't honor them and treat them with love and respect like we would our own children, then quite frankly, they don't perform well, right? Because they're always in a constant state of fear, right? Fear of being fired, fear of this, fear of that. So we want to create some safety. And how do we create safety? Well, we love people, right? And again, if you don't like people, you got to get out of leadership because there's no place for you in leadership if you don't like people. There's just not. Go manage things. Go manage a process somewhere, but you can't lead people if you don't like people. All right? All right. 3 C's. Number 1, consistency. So all the things we just talked about, you've got to be consistent. You've got to be consistently good. You don't get to lose your temper. You don't get to lose your temper anymore. You don't get to be ugly to people anymore. You don't get to be curt or short or act a certain kind of way with people anymore. It's no longer who you are. Well, how do I do that, David? You've already made the decision. You decided to stay. So now you have to be somebody different than who you used to be. And you can decide that right now and then start showing up differently immediately. Because you get the picture, you paint the picture of the ideal individual. I would tell you that this right here, these are the qualities of success that Zig Ziglar came up with years and years ago. Look it up. Type it in. Zig Ziglar's qualities of success and internalize them. There's 50 of them. Internalize them. That's who you need to become. All right. And become that consistently. Next, C number 2, communication. Over communicate. Over communicate. Remember, where performance is measured, performance improves. But where performance is measured and reported, performance accelerates. You want, this one's done, constantly reporting back everything that you're doing, the changes that you're making, the progress that you're making, constantly report. Now, does that mean that they're going to respond every time? No. But what it means is that you are reporting back, and that means they don't have to hunt you down because you are giving them all the information that they need continuously. Is it going to take some extra time? Yeah, but you're showing decision. You're all in. So if you're working 18 hours a day, so what? You're getting the job done. Oh, but I didn't want to work 18 hours a day. Well, then you should have hit the road. You shouldn't have made the decision to stick around. All right. Which brings us to the last one, contribution, going the extra mile. And what do we mean by going the extra mile? It's the loneliest place in the world, right? Going the extra mile is the loneliest place in the world, but it is the contribution you make to the organization, to your fellow employees, to your boss, to yourself, your own growth and development. And how do we do that? How do we increase our contribution? Well, the best way that we can increase our contribution is to teach and train our employees. So if you have people that directly report to you, you're going to teach them how to do your job. You're going to teach them a lot of the skills. You're going to help them upskill so that they can take some of the heat and some of the work off of you that they're supposed to be doing anyway. right? And how do we do that? Go back and watch a couple of videos that we've done before on one-to-one meetings, how to hold a one-to-one meeting, and how to hold a one-to-many meeting. How do we inspire our teams? One-to-one meetings where we sit down, we get to know them, and we help them develop their goals of progress. We help them develop goals for their role, and we also help them develop their career goals and their home goals. As a leader, that's what we do, right? We develop people. So spend more time developing your people and bringing them up. Because as we teach our people how to do different aspects of our job, what do you buy back? You're buying your time back. So now I don't have to show up as early. I don't have to stay as late because I've invested in my people, and because they know I love them, I care about them, I honor and I respect them. They want to do more, and they buy in with their heart, their soul. They're all in to make it happen. Why? Because you're all in to make it happen. You're all in for them, and now they're all in for you. But if you're not all in for them, how can they ever be all in for you? Right? Very, very important. And then again, Zig's 21 Qualities of Success. I'm telling you, study them, internalize them. If you truly want your job and you want to stay and you want to go from the worst to the best, we've got to implement the strategies we talked about here. All right. So, number one, make the decision. Do I really want to do this? Am I all in? Am I willing to do what it takes to make it happen? If you're not willing to put in the time and the effort, then just don't do it. Go start over somewhere else and be the same kind of person you were, and then you're looking for another job another year down the road. It's up to you. You know, if you're going to continue to be the same type of person and not change, you're just going to get the same result everywhere you go. So you may as well just change now. And then if the boss doesn't appreciate it, then I'm sure that they'll send you down the river, and then you're a different person, at least when you show up to the next place. All right. Set the intention. Make the decision. Approach your boss in humility. Perform your time study, right? Number 4, reach out to mentors. Number 5, it's okay to be out of balance. You're going to have to show up early, stay late, work a little bit harder while you're there to get things done. And then the 3 C's: consistency, communication, and contribution. So the one-to-one meetings are very, very important for contribution, but also serving your fellow managers, serving the other managers and leaders in the building, finding a way to help them. Oh, so important, because you want them on your side. When your boss starts asking you questions, you want your teammates on your side backing you up. All right, until next time, we'll see you tomorrow.